was looking at Nonfiction. Had to cut it off. This stack I've looked at. Not this one. So Guatemala is just an incredible country. I spent like a semester there with my first wife. And it was cool. We went to language schools and lived in the second biggest city in Guatemala, Xela. And lived in a little rainforest town for a while. I think it was called Colombia. I mean, it's just incredible. Also traveled all over Central America, Honduras, and so on. Oh, got caught in a crazy typhoon in Honduras on an island. We really almost died, probably. There were palm trees just falling all around us. A couple hit our tent, and it was like wild. A rescue boat came. I was like, we didn't arrange this. A boat just showed up and was like, get in. We're like, awesome. This little aluminum boat, and we were like skipping over these crazy waves. Just getting back was crazy. I still have a water-stained book or two in this collection that were with me at that time. But Guatemala is incredible, and I mean, it's such an interesting place, vibrant culture, more indigenous people and more indigenous influence than Mexico, I think, for the most part, and a lot more like Mayans. And, you know, there's a lot that's good and a lot that's bad. I really enjoyed it. One thing that's bad is their plumbing. No one flushes toilet paper. You put it in a trash can next to the toilet, so every bathroom kind of just smells not great. Also, the water for the showers is heated by rings around where the water comes out, and it like you can get electrocuted. I got shocked like with some frequency. Hey, squirrel. Yeah, I got all kinds of sicknesses on the Central American traveling time too. Hey, kitty. Had dengue fever. That was fun. Had bed bugs. Had something I think was malaria. Had fleas. Ugh. And the cure for all these things is like poison. They just give you like strychnine, and then you like almost survive, barely survive that. One time I went to a doctor and he said my problem was partly from the night air and I should avoid the night air. I'm like, no, I probably have a tapeworm growing inside me. It's crazy. I mean, like every major region of the world has its own like bacterias and gut bacteria biomes. And, you know, pretty much when anyone travels from anywhere into an area outside of their area, it's not like Central America. The food is all bad in that way. So they probably do have like fewer or looser food inspectors because everything just seems mostly unregulated on the streets. But there is regulation, so it seems that way. A historical geography of the Cuhumatan Highlands, 1500 to 1821. Yeah, snatch this book up. Guatemala is a subject I'm interested in. And it's crazy because if you're a scholar of the American West, that this is just like, you know, what's south of the American West. The American West was El Norte to people that traveled through these regions. Cool. I love the idea of focusing on the influence of colonization on one small area. Yeah, I should write something more about Guatemala. I've written a little bit about it, but I have not done it justice in writing in my experiences there, because that really was an amazing and eye-opening time. And yeah, we did almost die in that storm. Just got this one from a free box. I'm kind of burnt out on politics. I'd love to just check out, but I don't think we can really do that right now completely. Sometimes I'm like, I'm an artist, not an activist. You know, I want the best for the world and everything, but I can do better for the world by having a successful career as an artist and a platform from which to speak more broadly. Right now, my videos get like 12 views or something sometimes. If I dilute my work with like constantly getting arrested and all that, it'll be so much longer for me to get that platform. Like, I want fame for reasons, you know? I want to be a cultural voice of like, I don't know, whatever I'm about. Positive things, you know? I feel like if we all work on reality together, like it's a big project, it could be awesome. That does get political eventually, because let me tell you, just unfettered capitalism is not really going to be the solution that achieves a utopia for anybody. It's going to look more like Blade Runner. What's up, kitty? You know, a post-capitalism hellscape where there's essentially no governments and might makes right on a money level. It's crazy. You know, that's a famous quote, I think it was from Stalin, that like one death is a tragedy and a million is a statistic. are you so bitey? Anyway, the fact is, yeah, the government's kind of being dismantled right now, and it's crazy. Like, we need food inspectors. We need airline inspectors. Come on. We're all working to build some giant system. If we're going to do this project, let's do it. Let's be New Deal committed to it, you know? But what once was sloppy and ineffective is now organized and group directed. These right-wing think tanks, and they really do have influence. They lobby. They're corporate backed, and their interests are the interests of unfettered gain, not global harmony or anything positive. It sucks. I spend a lot of time now because at work, you know, you're at work a lot, much of my waking hours, with people that I know are very right-leaning. And I can find some common ground with them, you know. I'm like, Mystical Desert Prophet is like my political party. Boulder and Death Valley, that's my political party. But it's really weird because, like, I don't know. For one thing that does bother me a lot that they say is they just complain endlessly about the mayor and local stuff. And no matter what the mayor and the governor do, it's bad. Like, the governor is literally doing something that's right of center, not left of center, in bringing in the National Guard to treat Central Avenue in Albuquerque like an emergency, basically. And it kind of is. It's a zombie land out there. In the movie Zombieland 2, a character says, guys, I think Albuquerque might be infected. Talking about a character named Albuquerque. But, you know, like the governor's bringing out like 70 or something National Guard troops to help the cops just try to do something about just the open, sad scene of crime. And I mean, like, look, I'm no like I like reading Henry Miller and stuff. I like reading about the underworld. When I was a young hitchhiker and traveler, my philosophy was I want to know the secret world. I would write it in journals all the time. Like, it's something I was reminding myself of. But I've since seen the secret world, and it's actually like pretty scary and sad quite a lot. And I see why we pull the veneer of civilization over it and try to not look at that and not have that exist. But we're in denial when it does exist. But yeah, I mean, what needs to happen is Central needs to be cleaned up with a mind toward rehabilitation. Like, there should be a state or a city effort for fentanyl rehab. And you're just picked up and sponsored by the state. It's a public health thing because you're a public health menace. If you're a fentanyl addict, you're like, you know, you got to use the facilities somewhere. And if there's no facilities, it's just the open. It's a sad sight that makes a place feel like, you know, not healthy and happy. And it often goes with trash and decay and fires, and fentanyl is really driving it, and a lot of other drugs too. Apparently there's a crisis of juvenile crime in Albuquerque right now. Oh, I freaking believe it. I've been front row seat to that over the last couple of years. But I really do think the local government we have now, including our mayor, are really trying hard and doing a good job, except for a bunch of like stick in the muds that get in the way every time. Like, it's stupid to let things get politicized. They should all watch Parks and Recreation or something like that, some workplace comedy where people who are different get along. Try to be a little more mature. I'm like so annoyed reading government stuff. It's kind of funny that these are both on the screen at the same time, honestly, because look, this is totally like sharp. It's political. And then over here, not sharp, dreamy. Dreaming mind. I love books about dreams. I get books about dreams all the time. I want to hear every take, every thought. I've written 2 essays that are really dream-based, where I paid attention to my dreams and then surveyed and analyzed them. One, it was every dream I had during the 6.5 months that I canoed around the circumference of Lake Powell. I wrote them all down, and then I like surveyed this alternate trip that I took. I wrote one chapter, a book-length chapter, about that trip around the lake. But then I wrote this secondary one that is about all the dreams, but it still tells the trip around the lake, but through the dreams. That one's called On a Lake of Dreams. I also found a quote in that, a dream that one of my ancestors had in like the 1800s, not that far from there. And I was able to quote that, and it was so like thematically amazing. That's a favorite chapter that the book includes. I think it's interesting. And it was kind of illuminating. For instance, I often dreamt about my parents' house in some form during that time. And so in the analysis, I was like, this probably means I was still kind of attached to home, even if I still was having little adventures and so on. My parents' house was always in it, but it would always look different. One time it'd be full of mirrors. One time all the cupboards were only full of mints. What's that about? Oh, the kitties. This looks like a cool survey. A sweeping exploration of the role that dreams have played in politics and religion and psychology from ancient civilizations to the present day. Nice. I do want to let you kitties out, but I just don't want you to get hit by a car, or like lost or tormented, or beat up by another cat. That too. Or to go wild on me. Oh, I have this because it's by Scott Thibony. He wrote one of my very favorite books that I can never hold on to because I always give it away to people. Burnt Water. Burnt Water is so cool. It's like kind of like a John McPhee book in its approach. It's simply about a trip, a short drive across the desert west, maybe a few hours or something. And he's going to this town called Burnt Water, which has this great place lore about a ring of fires built around this frozen pond that was the community's main water staple. Like, that's true. An Arizona place name, I think. I love that book, Burnt Water, and I realized this guy is a great writer. Hidden in Scott Thibony is a great writer. He is a National Geographic writer, so that's the kind of stuff he writes. But Burnt Water is a personal memoir, and it's amazing. Like, he had a sibling die in a helicopter crash in the Grand Canyon, and he goes and hikes to try to find it, and he gets totally dehydrated and lost where his brother died in the canyon. And I think he finds the ruins but gets lost coming back. It's all sober and crazy, and he like seems to hallucinate a Native American man who helps him out. But in that book, he shares so many interesting facts. He's like Hampton Sides in that book. He's like real excellent magpie curator of so much different information. I wonder what he's done since. We had a letter writing exchange for a little while, and he was super cool. And I bet I could write him again, and he'd still be super cool. He might even remember me, I wonder. Though it has been probably over a decade, well over a decade. But I had sent him excerpts from my giant book that was like my writing school, where I wrote about that canoe trip. And it was like a 600-page work, but I sent him like just a really good chapter that I liked. And he was into it. And because I got his address after I read Burnt Water. Because I'm a 90s kid. We did things like that, you know. Still do. Anyway, this is his book about the Rockies, and the Rockies are amazing. They really are like the backbone of America, of North America too. Incredible. If you really like just behold them from the right views, they're so striking. And if you lose yourself in them, it's just like such a vast world. It's great. This is a beautiful illustrated book. We're just looking at the cover. I could be flipping through it. That's cool. Yeah, I hold on to all my Scott Thibony books. He also did a thesaurus of, except Burnt Water. I keep giving that away. But I'm like, people need Burnt Water. Like, I don't know how you could read that book and not want to go camping in the desert Southwest immediately after reading it. I think every time I've read it, I've gone camping that next weekend. Hey, kitty. Gizmo, tell us, what nonfiction should we read? And what shouldn't we? Help us decide. I just watched an amazing YouTube video about, it seems like pretty conclusive that whales are speaking in a language. And it broke all their different sounds and sound patterns into letter-like, syllable-like tones and symbols. Incredible. I believe it. Whales are freaking smart, obviously. Killer whales have fashion. They'll wear like salmon on their head, and you can only come hang out on this one little area in the ocean if you have a salmon on your head. Otherwise, get out of here. They have fashion, they have language, they have culture, but they're not materialists. They don't hold on to anything except barnacles. So we look down on them. And they don't have fire. They don't have tools because they don't need tools. Ancient inventions, that's cool. When I was in middle school, I won the history fair one year for a big presentation of 100 inventions, and I made a page with an illustration and a paragraph about it for everything. I had this, like, I think kind of precocious notion when I look back that like I'll just do twice as much work as anybody else and then I'll definitely win. I was like aware of what everyone else was doing, and I was like, oh, they're just doing like 10-page reports. I'm gonna write like 40. I suppose that was a little bit of a precursor of my maximalist writing mode that I work in now. But I won the history fair that year, and I won it the next year, which I think was on presidents. And I did all the presidents, a paragraph and a drawing, and I got a bright blue ribbon, and I skipped all the way home. Prismo was there, but Prismo was a bully with a switchblade. and a jacket and a greaser haircut. No, but I really did win that little fair. I just wasn't also Little Lord Fauntleroy. Close, but not quite. Ancient Inventions, that's pretty cool. I wonder if this is recent enough to have that that codex thing, that like primitive computer, the Archimedes codex. This looks cool. I don't know why, but the font and the little pictures remind me of Super Salad, this restaurant chain. They had stuff on the walls in a similar font, and similar feel. I have definitely had chapters in my life where I just read books like this. Not in a while, but I can see it happening again. I can definitely see this aiding research. I want to kind of include everything in my work, you know, so everything's on the table as possibly being included. Prismo, tell us what's up. This is a cool book. This is like a labor of love book that grew out of another labor of love project. These friends started Weird NJ, just documenting weird local legends and strange things and interesting places and so on in New Jersey. Their place that they took a sort of pride in. I walked across New Jersey on that hike across the country, and it was wild. I felt like we were in like hell sometimes from all the factories and just fire and these like giant steel structures. Smoke, and I mean, it was like being in a Hephaestus's forge or Mordor or something. But then there were just like endless suburbs outside of New York too, and I think it was raining most of the time. We stayed at Rutgers. That was a whole, that's the one in New Brunswick, right? This frat let us camp in there, stay in their place because the floors were getting replaced, and so nobody was there. And they had a bulletin board, and the newspaper clippings on the bulletin board were like, "Frat brother tried in rape case." Not even kidding. They also had a toilet room, and it had like 20 toilets with no dividers between them at all. So frats are gross and stupid, I think. And better hope your children stay out of them. And you should probably stay out of them. In my knowledge, they're like rape land. I know of frats at UNM that would like have people go out as like attainers for them and just take young women back to these giant football players in their rooms. And that was like their job, to just pick up people for rape delivery. Those frats are nasty. They have a high rate of suicide. You know, I'm pretty far out, you know, but I really don't think I would. If I were like a college principal, I'd be like, no, we're not having frats at our campus. Get out of here. We don't need a binge drinking date rape society. You can be in the nerdy frat that is just all about good grades. I've only seen it bring harm to people at UNM. I mean, I'm sure it's not only. And also, I taught freshman English at UNM as a TA in an echoey room with like a whole football team. And the students would always write essays about their frat brothers. And I injured my optic nerves rolling my eyes so hard. One wrote an essay about how he got super drunk on like, you know, Jägermeister and drove down a street in Albuquerque, knocking off the mirrors of all the cars that were parked along it and scratching against them all. And then his frat brothers, they were amazing. They didn't even ask. They came out, they helped him hide all the evidence. They got his car hidden. They had his back. What's crazy about this book is how many of these places I've been and encountered. I remember reading through this with my first wife, and she's like, I think that's abnormal. That you've been to, like, but a lot of them are because of the hike across the country. Yeah, I like books like this. I think this has a chapter on Highway 666. I may give this, I've traveled that road a bit. I may give this to a teacher at school I'm working at because sadly, both her mom and her only child, her daughter, died on this road from car crashes. So she's like kind of fixated on it and genuinely thinks it's evil. I think. But wouldn't you be? I mean, like, I don't know. It's like, I think I'm kind of over this book. I don't think I need it anymore. I might use it. See, like, when I say I use stuff for research, sometimes it's just to remind me of things. Like, oh yeah, you experienced that. You should mention that. You encountered that. You could use that as an element in your work. You know, because nonfiction, that's where the literary art is in what you include. And that's why it's great to have all the material you can get. Demonic encounter on a deadly town trail. Abandoned sites. Yeah, I might give this to Jennifer. She's cool. And that's so horrible and sad for her. We always talk about Twin Peaks. But one time we had like an English department breakfast at Flying Star. She told me all the crazy stuff. Sad. I think Route 66 isn't Route 66 anymore. I just got a text that my daughter's friend is dying. Oh. She didn't get back into drugs. It was a suicide. Yeah, life is pretty dark sometimes. Weird US. I had mentioned this book to Jennifer, and she had seemed interested in it. She wanted her to look it up, so I'll just give it to her. Okay, I do more, but I've got a few things to do. And time keeps on slipping into the future. That is an original lyric. Don't steal it. Look at these next time, and then we'll be done with nonfiction for a little bit. Till later, we're not. Squirrel. Well, Squirrel, you did it. You survived the books of death. Now tell everybody what you got going on. This camera, this camera, this camera. It's all you. Anyone in here watch Hot Ones ever? I don't want to like that show because it's kind of dumb to describe it, but it's actually like really effective and interesting, and because he found a way to just put people in total pain and like in an approved and somewhat safe way. It is bad for you. Like your esophagus is never the same after you eat that much hot sauce. Yikes. I don't know. People do build a tolerance. Like the average New Mexican is much more tolerant to spices than the average New Englander. All right, kiddies. Wish the world good night. And continue your vigilant watch.